I thought I had a good marriage. Amanda and I were equals for 5 years, both working and sharing responsibilities. We were the modern couple everyone admired. Then one day she announced she was quitting her marketing executive job to be a traditional wife. I was confused but supportive, thinking our home would become more organized. Weeks passed and nothing changed except our bank account. I still cooked, cleaned, and worked overtime while she did. What exactly? Where are you watching from today? Drop your location in the comments. Hit that like button and subscribe to see how I finally confronted my wife about what being a traditional wife actually means when there was nothing traditional about her contribution to our marriage. I grew up in a middle-class neighborhood in Chicago, raised by parents who both worked hard to provide for our family. My father was an electrician who taught me the value of craftsmanship, while my mother balanced her nursing career with maintaining our household. They were partners in every sense, and that shaped my view of what marriage should be. By 30, I had built a successful career as a software engineer at a tech firm in Chicago. I worked long hours developing applications that helped businesses streamline their operations and took pride in creating solutions that made a difference. Though my career was fulfilling, something was missing in my personal life. That changed when I attended a tech conference in San Francisco 5 years ago. During a panel discussion on digital marketing integration, I asked a question that sparked a debate. A woman in the audience named Amanda stood up and offered a perspective that completely changed my thinking. She was brilliant, articulate, and when our eyes met across the conference room, something clicked. We ended up talking for hours at the hotel bar that evening. Amanda was a rising star in digital marketing, passionate about her work and fiercely independent. She had the same views on relationships that I did: equal partnership, shared responsibilities, and supporting each other's ambitions. We exchanged numbers, and what followed was 6 months of long-distance dating video calls that lasted until sunrise and weekend visits whenever possible. When Amanda was offered a prestigious position at a marketing agency in Chicago, it felt like fate. She moved into my apartment, and we fell into an easy rhythm together. Both career-focused, we split household chores, evenly took turns cooking, and became experts at balancing work and relationship. We made decisions as a team and treated each other with respect and admiration. 2 years into our relationship, I proposed. Nothing flashy or traditional, just a heartfelt question during a hike overlooking Lake Michigan. Amanda said yes immediately, and we planned a small wedding that reflected our practical modern values. No extravagant displays or outdated traditions, just a celebration of our commitment with close friends and family. The first 2 years of marriage were everything I had hoped for. We both thrived in our careers, saved for a house, and enjoyed regular date nights where we would discuss our dreams for the future. Amanda was promoted twice at her agency, while I took on more complex projects at work. We were equals in every way, and I felt incredibly lucky. When we found our dream house, it was a bit of a fixer-upper in a neighborhood we loved. Weekends were spent painting walls, replacing fixtures, and turning it into a home that reflected both our tastes. Amanda had an amazing eye for design, while I handled most of the technical repairs. It was teamwork at its finest. 3 years into our marriage, Amanda was promoted to marketing executive. The position came with a significant salary increase, but also more responsibility and stress. At first, she was thrilled by the challenge, often working late to perfect campaigns and mentoring junior team members. I supported her, completely picking up more household duties when she was swamped with work. Around this time, Amanda made 2 new friends through a business networking event: Jessica and Stephanie. Both were married to successful businessmen, and neither worked outside the home. Initially, I thought nothing of it. Amanda had always maintained diverse friendships, and I trusted her judgment completely. Gradually, I noticed subtle changes in Amanda. She began following social media accounts, promoting traditional gender roles. These influencers called themselves tradwives, posting images of immaculate homes, elaborate homemade meals, and philosophies about women finding fulfillment through serving their husbands. At a dinner party, Amanda made a comment that caught me off guard. When our friend Mark mentioned his wife being the primary breadwinner while he took care of their children, Amanda said, "Women are naturally nurturers. They belong at home, not competing in the workforce." The room fell silent, everyone aware of how contrary this was to the values Amanda had always espoused. Later, when I asked about it, she laughed it off as just something she was exploring intellectually. I accepted her explanation, not wanting to make a big deal out of what seemed like a passing interest. But the comments continued. Amanda started complaining about her job constantly when previously she had been passionate about her work. She would come home exhausted, lamenting how corporate America exploited women and how her male colleagues received preferential treatment. While I knew gender discrimination existed, this sudden shift in perspective seemed extreme, given her previous success and satisfaction. Then came the announcement that changed everything. I arrived home one evening to find Amanda waiting in the living room looking oddly serene. "Reynaldo, I quit my job today," she said without preamble. I nearly dropped the takeout I had brought home. "What? Why did something happen? I have been thinking about this for months," she explained. "I want to be a traditional wife, to focus on our home, on supporting you. I feel called to this." I sat down trying to process this. "Did you talk to HR about options? Maybe a leave of absence or reduced hours?" She shook her head firmly. "This is not a break. This is a lifestyle change. I want to embrace my feminine nature and create a nurturing home for us." While shocked by the lack of discussion before such a major decision, I tried to be supportive. If this would make her happy and reduce her stress, perhaps it was worth trying. Besides, I made enough to support us both, though it would mean adjusting our savings goals and lifestyle. "What exactly does being a traditional wife entail?" I asked carefully. Her answer was vague, with references to emotional support and creating harmony in our home. I noticed she avoided specifics about cooking, cleaning, or other household management tasks, but assumed these details would sort themselves out as she settled into her new role. Looking back, I should have asked more questions. But in that moment, I wanted to be the understanding husband to support her through what I believed might be a temporary phase or response to burnout. I had no idea what was really coming. The first week after Amanda quit her job, I expected to come home to a clean house and home-cooked meal. After all, that was the traditional wife image she had been showing me on social media. Instead, I found the house in the same state I had left it, sometimes worse. And Amanda lounging on the couch, scrolling through her phone. That first evening, I gently asked if she had any plans for dinner. "I lost track of time," she said with a sheepish smile. "Can we order in?" So we ordered takeout again, using the credit card that was now solely funded by my income. I did not complain. It was just the first week, and transitions take time. Week 1 turned into week 2, then a month. Our financial situation required immediate adjustments. I canceled our planned vacation to Hawaii, increased my contributions to our joint account, and started working overtime to compensate for the lost income. Meanwhile, I observed Amanda's new daily routine with growing concern. She would sleep until 10 or 11 each morning, spend hours watching lifestyle shows or scrolling through social media, meet Jessica or Stephanie for extended lunches, and shop for household items we did not need. The actual housework was minimal. Laundry piled up, dishes filled the sink, and dust gathered on surfaces. After particularly long days at work, I would come home to find takeout containers from her lunch still on the coffee table, the bed unmade, and Amanda telling me she was too tired to cook dinner. I found myself cleaning on weekends and evenings, preparing meals when I could, and wondering what exactly had changed besides our bank account balance. One evening, after working 12 hours and stopping to pick up groceries, I arrived home to find Amanda watching videos on her tablet. The breakfast dishes were still in the sink. "Amanda," I began carefully, "I think we need to talk about expectations. What does being a traditional wife mean to you?" Her answer was frustratingly vague. "It's about being present for you emotionally, creating a nurturing environment, Supporting your goals. I pressed further. Does it include practical things like cooking and cleaning? Because I am still doing those things after working all day. She looked offended. It's not just about chores, Reynaldo. The tradwife lifestyle is about an entire mindset and presence. You are focusing too much on materialistic aspects. This conversation repeated itself with variations over the following weeks. Meanwhile, our physical relationship also deteriorated. Amanda began rejecting intimacy, claiming traditional wives needed to be respected and not treated like objects. When I pointed out that intimacy was a normal part of marriage, traditional or otherwise, she accused me of being sex-obsessed. As our savings dwindled, Amanda's spending increased. She purchased expensive clothing, home decor items she saw on influencer pages, and organic skincare products with three-figure price tags. When I expressed concern about finances, she dismissed me, saying a traditional husband should provide without questioning his wife's needs. To cover the growing expenses, I took on a second freelance project, working nights and weekends. My health began to suffer. I lost weight, developed insomnia, and felt constant anxiety about our financial future. One day, I came home unexpectedly early with a migraine and discovered something disturbing. Amanda was staging photos for social media, carefully arranging a homemade meal she had ordered from a local restaurant and transferred to our cookware. She had cleaned one corner of our living room for the perfect background shot while the rest of the house remained in disarray. When I scrolled through her social media later, I was shocked to find dozens of similar posts. Captions about the joy of keeping a spotless home for her hard-working husband. Photos of elaborate meals with recipes she claimed to have perfected, and long philosophical posts about the fulfillment she found in domestic duties she wasn't actually performing. It was all a facade. Worse, it was a lie that mocked the reality of my increasing workload and our deteriorating relationship. I attempted another serious conversation about finances and her misrepresentation of our life online. "You need to understand that we cannot sustain this," I explained. "Your spending has increased, while our income has been cut in half. And I do not understand why you are posting fake photos of meals and cleaning when those things are not happening." Amanda became immediately defensive. "You are so materialistic. Traditional marriages are not about bean counting. A real man would be proud to provide for his wife." As she continued, I felt a growing sense of being used. I was working myself to exhaustion to fund a lifestyle that benefited only Amanda while she contributed virtually nothing in return. The final straw came when I overheard Amanda on the phone with Stephanie during one of their lunch dates. I had stopped by the restaurant to drop off Amanda's forgotten phone and paused outside when I heard my name. "Reynaldo just does not make enough for me to live the lifestyle I deserve," Amanda was saying. "Jessica's husband bought her a new car last month just because. Meanwhile, I had to argue for days just to get new garden furniture." I felt sick listening to this woman I no longer recognized. Where was the ambitious, ethical partner I had married? The person who valued equality and mutual respect. That night, my health hit rock bottom. Exhausted from overwork and stress, I lost 6 pounds in 1 week, could barely sleep, and felt constant anxiety. When Amanda complained about the simple dinner I had managed to prepare, something broke inside me. "You know what, Amanda," I said, my voice unnaturally calm. "I have been thinking about your traditional wife role, and I have a question. You do not cook. You do not clean. We do not have sex. What exactly do you bring to this marriage?" The silence that followed was deafening. Amanda's reaction to my question was explosive. Her face flushed dark red as she stood up from the dinner table, knocking over her water glass. "How dare you?" she shouted. "I bring plenty to this marriage. My presence and emotional support are worth more than any chore." When I asked for specific examples of this emotional support, especially given my deteriorating health from overwork, she stormed out of the room. I spent that night in our guest bedroom, staring at the ceiling and contemplating how dramatically our relationship had changed. The next morning, while Amanda was still sleeping, her phone lit up with notifications. I had never invaded her privacy before, but something compelled me to look. What I found shattered any remaining illusions I had about our marriage. In a group chat with Jessica and Stephanie, Amanda had been mocking me for months. Screenshots of me doing housework captioned with crying, laughing emojis. Complaints about my income being insufficient for the lifestyle she wanted. Strategies for manipulating me into working more hours so she could have more spending money. Even worse were the tradwife social media posts she had been crafting. Behind the perfectly staged photos of our home and supposed homemade meals were captions painting me as the fortunate recipient of her domestic talents. Every post was a complete fabrication, presenting a marriage that did not exist. I took photos of these conversations as evidence, then packed a bag and called my brother. I needed space to think clearly. He immediately offered his spare room, no questions asked, though I eventually told him everything. The week away from Amanda was clarifying. I consulted trusted friends who had observed our relationship change over time. Their outside perspectives confirmed what I had been reluctant to admit: I was being used financially while receiving nothing in return. I also began seeing a therapist who specialized in relationship issues. Those sessions helped me understand that my desire for an equal partnership was not unreasonable, and that Amanda's behavior showed concerning patterns of manipulation and financial exploitation. After 7 days of reflection, I returned home with proposed solutions. I found Amanda exactly as I had left her, the house in disarray and takeout containers piled in the kitchen. She acted as though my absence had been a minor inconvenience, rather than a serious rupture in our marriage. I want to make this work, I told her, laying out my suggestions. We need couples counseling. We need a realistic budget that reflects our single income status. And we need a clear division of household responsibilities if you are going to be at home full-time. Amanda dismissed each proposal. Therapy was anti-traditional, she claimed. Budgets were controlling, and explicit expectations about housework were demeaning to her role as a wife. When I suggested she return to work if she found household management unfulfilling, she refused that option as well. The conversation ended with an ultimatum. Either she contribute meaningfully to our household, or we would need to reconsider our marriage. She promised to try harder, but I remained skeptical. I decided to give the situation 2 weeks of careful observation before making any permanent decisions. During those 2 weeks, Amanda made a minimal effort. The house was slightly cleaner, and she prepared simple meals a few times. But by the end of the 2nd week, she had reverted to her previous patterns. Meanwhile, I was still working 2 jobs and managing most household responsibilities. With a heavy heart, I contacted a divorce lawyer. The consultation confirmed what I suspected: Amanda's financial dependence on me. Complicated matters, but her short period of unemployment meant alimony would likely be limited. I gathered financial records, documented the division of household labor, and prepared for what was coming. I also met with a financial advisor to understand the implications of divorce for my savings and retirement accounts. The picture was not pretty, but staying in this one-sided relationship would be financially and emotionally devastating in the long run. On a Tuesday morning, I served Amanda with divorce papers over breakfast. Her shock was genuine, her eyes widening as she read the documents. "You cannot be serious," she whispered. "I am completely serious," I replied. "This marriage is not working for me. I cannot continue to support someone who contributes nothing in return." Her shock quickly turned to anger. "How could you do this to me?" she screamed. After I gave up my career for you, I remained calm, reminding her that quitting had been her unilateral decision, not my request. As she continued to rant, I gathered my things and left for work, suggesting she use the day to contact a lawyer of her own. That evening, my phone exploded with calls and texts from Amanda, her parents, and even Jessica and Stephanie. Amanda had called my parents as well, spinning a tale of abandonment and betrayal. Fortunately, my parents had witnessed enough of our recent interactions to question her version of events. Over the next few days, the reality of our situation seemed to dawn on Amanda. Without my income, she could not maintain her current lifestyle. Her job had already been filled, and her employment gap would make finding an equivalent position challenging. The facade she had created online would crumble under the reality of divorce. Her approach changed dramatically. Suddenly, I came home to find her frantically cleaning the house. She prepared an elaborate dinner and wore the lingerie that had been untouched for months. When I maintained my distance, she broke down in tears, promising she would change, truly become the wife she had pretended to be online. But it was too little too late. The trust was broken, and I had seen too clearly who she had become. Perhaps more importantly, I had rediscovered my own worth and recognized that I deserved a genuine partner, not someone who saw me as merely a provider. "It hurts now," I said gently, "but staying together would hurt us both more in the long run. We want fundamentally different things." No matter how much she pleaded, my decision remained firm. The divorce proceedings had begun, and there was no going back to a marriage that existed only in carefully staged social media posts. The weeks following my decision were a storm of emotions and logistics. Amanda escalated her attempts to save our marriage with increasingly desperate measures. She showed up at my workplace with homemade lunches. She sent lengthy emails detailing how she would change. She even enlisted friends to ambush me with testimonials about marriages that had survived worse. Through it all, I maintained firm boundaries while processing my own complex feelings. My therapist helped me work through grief for the relationship we once had, disappointment in how things had unfolded, and guilt over ending a marriage despite traditional expectations of perseverance. Amanda's family launched their own campaign to change my mind. Her father called to lecture me about commitment. Her mother appeared at our door with family photo albums and tearful pleas. Her sister sent daily texts about forgiveness and second chances. I responded to all. With respectful firmness, my decision was final. The mediation sessions were tense but productive. With both lawyers present, we outlined the division of assets and details of the separation. Amanda fought for a larger settlement than was reasonable given the length of our marriage and her voluntary unemployment, but eventually accepted terms that provided a transition period of limited support while she reestablished her career. The financial reality hit Amanda hard. With no income of her own and limited support in the settlement, she was forced to move back with her parents at 33 years old. Her social media presence transformed overnight from aspirational tradwife content to vague posts about betrayal and new beginnings. Jessica and Stephanie, those supposed friends who had encouraged her delusions, disappeared quickly when they realized she could no longer join their expensive lunches or shopping trips. Meanwhile, I focused on healing and rebuilding. Therapy was essential to this process, helping me recognize the patterns I needed to avoid in future relationships. I reconnected with friends I had neglected while working multiple jobs, started a regular exercise routine to recover my health, and rediscovered hobbies that brought me joy. Selling our house was both painful and liberating. Each room held memories of what we had built together and how it had fallen apart. The real estate agent commented on how well maintained it was, unaware that most of that maintenance had been my solitary work. The sale proceeded quickly, and the proceeds were divided according to our agreement. With my share, I purchased a smaller but comfortable apartment closer to my office. I took time furnishing it thoughtfully, creating an organized, peaceful space that reflected my values. Every item had a purpose, and the simplicity brought a calm I had not experienced in years. 6 months after our divorce was finalized, Amanda reached out again. She had found an entry-level position at a small marketing firm and claimed to have gained perspective on her behavior. Over coffee, she presented what she believed was a compelling case for reconciliation. She had learned to cook several meals. She had maintained her apartment without help. She had realized the value of financial independence. I listened politely, but felt no pull to return. The woman across from me was still focused on superficial changes rather than fundamental values. She spoke of what she could do for me rather than what we might build together. Most tellingly, her phone screen flashed with notifications from dating apps, specifically targeting successful professionals. Through this experience, I gained clarity about what partnership truly means. It is not about rigid gender roles or financial transactions. It is not about social media performances or meeting others' expectations. True partnership, whether traditional or modern in structure, must be built on mutual respect, shared goals, and genuine contribution from both people. 1 year after the divorce, I reconnected with Maria, a software developer I had known professionally for years. Our friendship evolved naturally into something deeper, founded on intellectual connection and shared values about equality and authenticity. She had her own successful career and ambitions, yet we both prioritized creating a balanced life together, where responsibilities were shared according to ability and preference rather than prescribed roles. The most important lesson I learned was that actions speak louder than labels in relationships. Amanda had claimed the traditional wife title, while acting contrary to the values that historically defined that role: industry, thrift, and care for the household. Maria never labeled her approach to our relationship but demonstrated partnership through consistent support, shared responsibility, and respect for my needs. For those facing similar situations, I would offer this wisdom: evaluate your relationship based on actions, not words or social media posts. Consider whether the partnership feels balanced, whether both people are contributing in meaningful ways, and remember that traditional and modern values are not inherently in conflict. The core elements of a healthy relationship remain constant across different structures: respect, honesty, and genuine care for each other's well-being. Have you experienced a relationship where actions did not match words? Share your stories in the comments below. If this account of my journey helped you reflect on your own relationships, please like this video and subscribe to my channel for more authentic conversations about modern relationships and personal growth. Share with someone who might need to hear that they deserve true partnership. Thank you for listening to my story, and I hope it brings clarity and courage to those who need it most.